Well, here we are at our second stop of the day. This is Bethel Cemetery. It's another supposedly haunted cemetery in Coles County, Illinois. And this is also known as the Ragdoll Cemetery. The legend here is that a little girl was buried without her favorite toy, her ragdoll. This is one of those urban legends that has so many different variations. I'm not really sure which would be considered the official one. One of them states that the little girl died after a long illness and her dying wish was to be buried with her ragdoll, and she was not. The other story is even more gruesome, that she was murdered and the ragdoll is in some way tied to this to find her or avenge her, something along those lines. So here we are, touring the cemetery, seeing if we meet a spooky spectral ragdoll. I'm not expecting it though. I'm expecting just to find some interesting old gravestones. And unfortunately, most of these are so faded, it's really hard to tell what the decorations are. Okay, I'm not sure what that's supposed to be. Looks like that's... Is that another lamb on there? And there's another one that's got the shaking hands. Or this one. Let's get a good close look at it. You can see it does look more in this particular one like holding hands than shaking hands. Lots more old stones back here. Sad seeing how they've fallen down so much. I do believe in the stories that the ragdoll is supposed to be seen hanging from the trees in the back of the cemetery. And allegedly some pranksters have occasionally tied ragdolls here in the cemetery. Looks like nothing like that's going on today. We've just got all these old stones. So many old stones. Oh, here is a different. It looks like this one, design of a window or drapery or curtain of some sort. I'll have to look up what that symbol means. There's another one. Here's another one pointing. Looks like this one's not pointing at a book. Honestly, that one looks like it's giving us the finger. But I'm sure that's not what it is. Just pointing heavenwards. And you can tell that spring is finally here in between the stones. We've got the first wildflowers. The first of the spring ephemerals. These are the spring beauties. That's their actual name. And the spring beauties are one of the very first wildflowers to appear in the spring. And since I've gotten into really exploring these old cemeteries and looking at all the tombstones and then looking up what the symbols are, it's kind of turned into this little game of, I guess you could call it the graveyard scavenger hunt, of how many of the old symbols that I've looked up I can find in one cemetery. And then, of course, if I find a new one, like the curtain, it's just very exciting. Really, I could make a game from this. There is the willow again. It's such a common symbol, I guess. Pretty much every cemetery I have visited, it has these older stones. I can find a willow, at least one. Another interesting thing I've read about online or in books is discussing the concept, even if you believe in ghosts and spirits and hauntings, why in particular a cemetery would be haunted, as usually the people did not die in the cemetery. There's no reason to suppose that their spirits would be trapped or stuck here. That's interesting. So why all these legends of haunted cemeteries? If you think about it, logically, the haunting, the feelings of hauntings would come from the living, visiting the cemeteries and mourning the grief and feeling of loss of the living people, not the spirits. There we have another lingo. Little Edwin. This one, it looks like, had a little inscription. Sleep on. God called thee home. He thought it best. I think that right there is the source of many of these stories. I have lost the rest of my paranormal team. Don't know where they went to. They've been off exploring without us. So there we've got a book. And this one is really elaborate with the curtain imagery. Martha. Alright, we'll stop here and do a little vibe check. I can hear Freya barking for us with anticipation, so we won't linger. My own personal vibe here at this cemetery, I don't know. I wouldn't say it's haunted, but there is a feeling of sadness here at this one. Don't know why. So here we are at Woodland Conservation Area, just breaking up the haunted cemeteries for the day with a bit of a nature walk. Let these little dogs stretch their legs some. It's just an amazingly beautiful spring day. We did walk this whole loop once around the lake. This is Lake Charleston, which is quite a long hike. We won't be walking that far today. Don't know if the dogs could do it. The trail just winds around these little ravines or ridges here along the lake. Little trails like this is the antidote to the idea of Illinois being one giant cornfield. It is one giant cornfield, but it's broken up by these little patches of nature. Dread, you're getting left behind again. Look at that. They are all the way ahead of us now. Thanks to you. Dred's trying to make me run to catch up with you. Looks like here we've got a little glimpse of Lake Charleston. Down there at the bottom of the bluffs. There's the lake. I just love to see the water. Those dogs are so cute. I feel like I could just film the dogs walking for hours and never get bored with it. Whether people would want to watch that is another thing altogether.
Red back or do orange? Orange is gotta be worse than green.
Why don't we head back so we might have time to do something else today on our Coles County adventure. Plus it's almost lunchtime and I live by my stomach. Well, I definitely hope to get back here later in the season and walk the whole loop because it's a really cool loop. It's just quite long.